Ever since Drake's sound started evolving, his most memorable songs have one thing in common: Dez Wright samples.
You know what I'm saying?
So today, we're going to break down Dez Wright's iconic sound, use those same techniques to make our 100% original Dez Wright inspired beat from scratch, and figure it out why Drake keeps coming back to his samples over and over again. In my opinion, Drake loves Dez Wright samples because of their simplicity. They are super catchy and interesting, but always very simple.
Yeah. Go squad.
So to start things off, I laid down this chord progression using this Rhodes one shot from Midnight Essentials. Okay, so this chord progression is a 1-5-6, so 1-5-6. I also added these extra few notes here just to make the sound more interesting. Since I played this on my MIDI keyboard, you can see here that the notes aren't quantized, and that's actually a very important thing to Dez Wright's sound because he's playing stuff live, he's not clicking in, so everything sounds way more human and not perfect. But the Dez Wright magic truly appears in his synth leads. I could use his plugin, especially because he actually put the sound he used to make Love All on there, but the secret to his sound is that he makes everything from scratch on his synths. So for the purpose of this video, I decided to do the same. Understanding what the knobs does really helps get that Dez Wright sound, but don't worry, I won't bore you to death with a 20-minute explanation of sound design. I'll just guide you through some of the most important knobs on a synth. Okay, so the synth that I chose is Prophet 5V, and by the way, you can get a bunch of different synth emulations with our 30V collection. I 100% recommend checking that out. But the first thing that you have to understand here is the amplifier. It basically changes the whole shape of the sound, and it works like it's the envelope section on a one shot. The attack right here controls how quickly the sound starts. So if I move the attack, see, starts quickly, and if I put all the way through, the decay controls how quickly it gets quieter after you press the note. The sustain controls how loud the sound stays while you hold the note, and the release controls how long the sound takes to completely fade it out. Okay, so for a lead, you normally want a slower attack to like create this fading effect, and this is also very important for the glide, but I'll talk about that later. I also like to turn the decay and the sustain up like this because for pads you basically want the sound to keep going but stop as soon as you stop pressing the note. And I keep the release normal as default. Okay, so right here at this part there are two important knobs. I always turn the unison on for leads to get multiple voices playing at the same time, which makes the sound wider and bigger. And I also turn the glide knob up to make the sound have this smooth transition into the next note. By default on this synth, the tune is always like a little bit like this, around 2, but I like to just turn it off. I will put the glide super exaggerated so you can listen. And on this synth, you have two oscillators. In the mixer, you can control how much of each oscillator you want. So for example, I want more of the oscillator 2 and actually change the shape. You can use this noise knob too, it's really dope, just to give this character to it. Okay, so right here we have the filtering section. This cutoff knob is basically like a filter that cuts certain frequencies, like if I do like this, and if I do like this. You know, it's like this underwater effect. This resonance knob highlights a specific range of the frequencies, making that like them stand out a lot more. So if I do like this, it's gonna sound terrible. And all of these envelope controls right here, the attack, the decay, the sustain, and the release, follow the same idea as I explained before, but this time they control the filter instead of the whole sound. And this is really important because making your own presets make your sound yours, and that's why Dez Wright sounds is so recognizable. So after messing around with all these knobs, I got to this. As I said, Dez Wright plays everything live and he's constantly leaving these tiny mistakes that make his music feel much more human.
Grab the top spot like part of my reach. Whoa.
So after making that preset, I repeated the Rhodes over and over again so I could actually record the audio of the synth lead. So I played in my MIDI keyboard, freestyling some stuff, and while I was playing that, I was also playing with the knobs to really capture these small imperfections and making these cool sounds that ended up making the sound much cooler. I really like how that last part came through, so I chopped the audio and flipped the rest of it with tone flex. You have to keep in mind the type of workflow you use to reach a certain sound, because I know that Dez Wright uses a ton of pedals and synths, so I have to use plugins that emulate that. Okay, so I used tone flex to flip this sound, and I used this basic Flipski preset. I loaded up Edison, and while it was recording, what I did was basically just click here on this freeze button, and then the sound will freeze, but the delay will keep going, so it gives this cool effect. After recording through tone flex, I chopped the sound to make this repetitive but catchy synth lead, really inspired by the one you can hear in Love All and Wants and Needs. To help the transition into the next section of the sample, I made this other synth lead, creating this cool ARP that feels like a fresh sound to the listener. And back outside, boys, you can hear this synth that has a ton of character to it. So for the next section of our sample, I loaded up this synth preset from Midnight's Essentials, and I copied the same chord progression as the Rhodes, but to add a little bit of movement on the first chord, I made these stabby chords at the end. To not overcomplicate the sample, I just copied one of the melodies I had created while recording the first lead, and then I just copy it over to make this variation of the first lead. And now it's time for the bass. For the bass, I also wanted to keep it simple, but I made it 2 sections. For the busier part, I just copied the root notes and put them inside this preset inside Midnight's Essentials. For the next section, I wanted to make something similar to Love All, where he just adds more notes to the bass, and this changes the bounce of the melody.
Might sound crazy. A lot of falling outs help me build foundation.
So I just added a few more notes that I had already used in the chords, and it sounds like this. And now, melody is finally done. But real quick, before we get into the drums, all the sounds that I'm using are actually from Midnight's Essentials. And it comes with over 500 sounds, including one-shots like the Rhodes I use on this beat, analog library presets like the leads and the pads I'm using, live instrument phrases, melody starters, vocals, and a whole lot more. So if you want to check it out, it's the first link in the description, and you can use the code Dez Wright for 30% off. Anyways, when you make this type of samples, you don't need much on the drums, and Ozzy knew that. That's why for Love All, he only used 2 sounds, a kick and a ream. Sometimes you just have to keep it simple, so for this beat, I did the same thing. And with that, the beat is finally done. Quick thing, before we listen to the whole beat, if you like this video, please subscribe and give it a like so I can keep making more videos like this. Dez Wright is also known for his dark, hard-hitting vibes, like his work with Travis Scott and Don Toliver. So if you want a breakdown of that too, leave it in the comments down below. Again, if you want all of the sounds that I've used, is the first link in the description. So let's hear the full beat. And if you want to know why everyone is obsessed with Alan Ritter's sound, click this video right here.